Well, good evening for those of you that have logged on to our Are You OK Facebook Live event. I'm just going to wait for a minute or two as other people begin to log on. Before we start. So it's a special day, really, in many respects. I'm old enough to remember where nobody thought about mental health, nobody thought about whether anybody was okay, and they lived in their enclosed family units and they concerned themselves with that. And whatever was happening with their neighbours up the street or whatever was happening with their friends, they never spoke openly about it. So thankfully in 2022 we have come a long way about talking about mental health and about talking to each other about how we're managing in our lives. So Are You OK Day is today, and it's an important question. And oftentimes if we reflect on this, there are many missed opportunities that we have to ask each other, are you okay? Now, the problem, I think, often with these sort of days is they can become a bit cliched. So what I want to talk to you tonight about is, are there different ways to start a conversation? What does it mean? And what do you do if you suspect others aren't travelling terribly well, or you yourself are starting to feel like you aren't either? And they're big questions. Now, we're coming out of what's ostensibly a perfect storm. We've had COVID. We're now going into some, high interest rates. There's financial pressures for people. There's no doubt that anxiety particularly is running high in the community, particularly with young people. It's been proven, women and the LGBTQIA community. They are the ones that, as a result of the pandemic, it's become very obvious that they are struggling more than other groups. Now, that's not to say that the other groups aren't struggling also. I did something recently where I was saying in a Women's Weekly article, it's actually okay to say you're struggling. Now, I think that's a good thing. And many of the clients that I see, both here in the practice and in South Pacific, they will be people that previously have never reached out for help, never ever said anything to anyone about the fact that they need a hand. They need to recalibrate. They need to defrag their lives and have a look at what's the meaning and purpose they're getting out of it. So coming back to the Are You OK, let's talk about some of the ways that we can start a conversation. Oh, and by the way, if as I'm talking things are coming up for you or you'd like to ask a question, please shoot that through to us, and I'll do my best to get to them towards the end. I thought I might talk for about 20 minutes and then we might have some questions. So feel free to make a comment if you wish. I'm going to guess that most of the people that are listening today are people who've had some experience of not being okay or have had a family member who's not okay. So coming back to the point about how can you ask without it seem too cliched, it may be something simple like, this is a tough situation, are you all right with everything that's happening? Now, there often are outward symptoms in our lives that will affect us. Illness, other family members being unwell, job difficulties, we may be experiencing bullying somewhere in our life, relationship breakdowns, concerns about our children. Now, those outside events, of course, are going to elicit a number of people saying to you, are you managing? Is everything, you don't need anything? That seems to be an easier way to talk about these things. But when there's no obvious outside influence in your life and you're generally starting to feel like you're not managing quite so well, they're the times that when we're going to speak to a friend, we need to think about how to couch our terms. It's always got to be an open-ended question. There are plenty of times in my life where people have said, You know, you don't look like you're managing very well, Diane. Are you, you okay? Well, of course, the illicit answer for me is, yeah, no, I'm fine. I'm fine. So, you know, there's fine's an acronym for things, you know. Fearful, insecure, neurotic, emotional. Not a great word to describe anything. If I ask a client how they're going and they give me the words good, fine, bad, okay, I cancel the answer and say, give me something I can work with. Because they don't, what does that mean? I'm fine. It doesn't mean anything. The open-ended questions where you're not going to get an answer of yes or no, or I'm okay, or yes, I'm okay, or no, I'm not. Very closed. We need the open-ended questions. We don't need the closed questions where we just get a one-word answer. And often the telltale signs will be something like how they're engaging in their world with you or just generally in their world. Whether people are withdrawing from family or social events, where they're not as upbeat as they normally are, where they don't want to engage with new people in their lives. It can be a change in mood, being particularly tearful. I've got a client in the middle of a marriage breakup right now. And of course, you know, they're crying a lot. Now, they're crying a lot because they don't want the marriage to break up. And secondly, because they're overwhelmed with emotion. And my response to that is, that's a very healthy response. But make sure you pull in the people that can support you through that. Often it'll be exhibited by being fatigued, tireder than usual, low energy levels, and poor concentration. So they're the sort of telltale signs. And it can even be with somebody we're working with. I think the problem I have with Are You OK Day is only this, that if I don't have a close enough relationship, an intimate enough relationship with someone, does it sound tokenistic if I'm going to say to them, are you okay? When I don't have that level of connection with them. Is there another way that I can say that? And there are plenty. I notice you seem a little down. Don't seem your usual self. I'm a bit concerned about you. How are you feeling about this or that? How are you feeling about the change in work? This is, as I said before, it's a tough situation. Are you okay? Those kind of questions at least allow the other person to respond. But the other thing I always think about these kind of situations we find ourselves with in life is if I can go to somebody from a space of being authentic, genuinely caring about somebody, and say to them, I feel a bit nervous about asking you this, but I've noticed things aren't, you know, you're not your usual self. Is everything all right? Do you need support with anything, or do you need help with anything? So trying to open the conversation to a space where they're able to say a few things. Now, please, please, please don't give advice. Please, please, please don't give any judgment about how they are, because often people just want to download how they're feeling. And when they've done that and they feel heard, then they will often respond with, what do you think I should do? Or could you help me get some help? Sometimes we need professional help. Sometimes we just need to know that there are people that care about us. Sometimes we need to reassess exactly where we are in our lives today. So a lot of these things allow us to take stock, not feel like someone's putting a spotlight on us, but allowing them to feel like we can see what's going on for them, or we intuitively know that things are not going well for them. There will be some instances where professionals are needed, and perhaps it's essential. When there's mental health issues, depression, anxiety, where perhaps there's suicidal thoughts or self-harming thoughts, that's when we need to get them straight to their GP or straight to their psychiatrist if they have one, or their therapist if they have a therapist, to get them support. At other times, people may be just in serious distress because of life circumstances. Nothing wrong with that. happens to all of us, and we might be just able to have that open conversation with them about what's been happening for them. Regular text check-ins is always good, or making a plan to catch up face-to-face, because you can actually deduce a lot more from face-to-face contact than you can over the phone or through a text. I don't think text does us a lot of help. It does us, I think it does a little bit of harm in this area. We need to be able to see somebody and sit with them. I know that most of my clients would much prefer to have face-to-face. They get much more out of it. I mean, we can do this, Zoom and, telehealth and all of that's great if there's no other option. But to actually sit with somebody means that you get to really see what's happening in their lives, how they look, what's their demeanour, how they're sounding. And if you stay silent long enough and listen, not surprisingly, they will eventually get to the point of telling you what it is that's the problem. There are many employee assistance programs that people can access, and there's a lot of places now where mental health is available. As I said when I started, I actually revel in the fact that today it's not shameful to talk about mental health. It's not shameful to ask for help. And the earlier, in my experience, the earlier we ask for help, irrespective of what we're dealing with, the easier it will be to get through it. So, asking someone how they're doing, normalising the conversations. Can we please not just leave it till today to think about this? Could it be a part of our normal, whatever that is? What's normal? Normal's a cycle on a washing machine. Could it be part of our everyday conversations with each other? I'll often say to people who are, I was doing some work on phone addiction the other day. It was very interesting, and I said to the journalist that was interviewing me, have a look at, you walk past people on a bus stop, I drive past people, everyone's doing this with their phone. No one talks to each other. Now, I know that I have a WhatsApp group for my street, right? It's like nobody knocks on the door anymore and asks you anything. They give you a WhatsApp message. I think, please, just knock on the door. I'm very happy for people to knock on my door. And I think it's a big change that we've gone through this period where we used to be all talking to each other. Now we're all texting and emailing each other, WhatsApping each other, Snapchatting each other, doing all of that stuff. Please talk to each other. Take a moment. Are you okay today? And if you're not okay, do you need help? Would you like some help? You're welcome to reach out to us. You're welcome to reach out to your friends. You're welcome to reach out with your family. And if you're in a position where you don't believe you have that kind of support in your life and you are struggling, then this is the very time that you need to reach out. Because none of us need to be doing it alone. It's too hard on our own. We often don't give ourselves the best piece of advice. And often what we're telling ourselves up here is not what we would tell a friend. So, are you okay today? So I'm just wondering, any questions that want to come through? Okay, let's see what we've got. Right, how do we get through grief when we've lost someone to suicide? Very interesting question. I was thinking about talking today about on the Are You OK Day, and I thought grief is one of those shockingly difficult emotions anytime. But when we lose someone to suicide, we're actually left bereft, totally blindsided and alone with the pain. Now, there's some excellent grief counsellors available. And I would suggest that you immediately get in touch with them. And often I will say to people when they're grieving, how long is it? And it's usually 3 to 6 months before they reach out for help, interestingly enough. And I believe it's because there's so much happening in those first few months after somebody dies. We've got so much to attend to, and we're all over the place. We don't actually think of ourselves first. And if we're going to manage our emotional life and manage our mental life, manage our spiritual life, because you often will feel spiritually bereft after a suicide, we need to be taking care of ourselves first. I don't think that grief moves quickly. That's my experience of it anyway. So when I was 33 years old, I had a baby. And she was born healthy, happy, all good. And my husband at the time said to me, as you know, I was struggling with breastfeeding, and you know, I was struggling with the night feeds, and I was struggling, right, this is how I saw it. And I said and he was complaining one day about feeling tired. And I said to him, without much of a thought, why don't you go to the doctor and just get checked out? And we'd done a lot of the usual stuff. We bought a house before the baby was born. We'd done all the nesting, And it transpired that he had a spot on the lung. And very quickly, I was totally oblivious. I mean, I'm struggling with breastfeeding. Like, what do I know about spots on lungs? Nothing. I'd never had any bad health. So they popped him into hospital, long story short, and opened him up and discovered that the spot was the only good bit left. So very suddenly, I'd taken him to hospital on the Monday. He had been operated on the Tuesday, and he died on the Friday. Now, my experience of grief was that it was sudden, totally unexpected. And the whole life that I had made for myself and the dream that I had had for myself had been blown up. And I had had no input into any of that. So I was totally blindsided by this event in my life. And I had a 7-week-old baby and a business to run. I didn't know what to do next. And a friend of mine said to me, go and see a grief counsellor. It was long before I did this work. I was running a publishing company at the time. And I went and saw 2. Of course, one was never going to be enough for me. 2. One was a very heady psychiatrist who spent a lot of time talking about what I thought. And the other was a grief counsellor who said to me things like, draw your grief, paint it, talk about it. If you can't get out of bed because you're exhausted by it, don't. You know, take care of the baby, take care of yourself. That's all you've got to do. And that is all I was capable of doing. So when somebody asks me about grief, now I didn't lose someone to suicide, but it was a sudden death. And it kind of felt like I'd been, you know, just, blindsided. And I think that's the main reason, that's the main way people feel. I imagine, and my understanding from the studies I've done, is that suicide, the people that are left feel betrayed, particularly if there's no note, and they feel like they let them down. So I would suggest you get serious grief counselling and don't do it by yourself. There are many other people that are struggling with it, and sometimes the shared experience of 2 of you or 2 or 3 of you will actually help you heal. You will heal. You don't lose it, of course. It doesn't never go, but you just grow around the grief. That's what happens, in my experience anyway. Another question, when should I really be worried about how I'm feeling? Is it normal to be, it is normal to be sad, isn't it? Yes, of course. There are 8 emotions in the world. We call them other things, but there's only 8 of them. And one of them is pain, which is sadness. Now, the experience of pain is that, and sadness, the gift of pain is is healing and growth. If we're in pain in our lives, it's generally because we've got to be able to recognise it. I'm in pain. I need to get some help with this, and I'm going to heal and grow through this. Pain doesn't come for any other reason, as far as I can tell, except to help us grow. Sadness in and of itself, yes, If we don't deal with the pain that's presented in our life, it will go to the toxic level, which is depression. So if you're feeling the low-grade depression or even overwhelming depression, of course you get help with that. Sadness is normal. So, well, there's that word again, so I should never use it. Sadness in appropriate situations is okay. If we're walking around feeling particularly sad and overwhelmed, a lot of the time I'd suggest to you it's depression, and then that's when we need the professional help. Often there's a lot of anxiety related to it, and there's some very good medications now that manage both of them. So I would always reach out. What kind of signs should I look for in my friend to know if they're okay? So often people seem fine until they're not. It's very good. Earlier I talked about when we're friendly with people, when they're reasonably close to us, we work with them, we know them well, we'll pick up that there's something not quite right intuitively. We don't know, we may not know exactly what it is. So it will be they're short in their mood, the mood has changed, they can be a bit tearful, particularly fragile. I think a good one is when people get prickly when they're normally not prickly. So they're being a bit defended. So you might be just asking something simple at work and they'll be a bit defended. I think I mentioned fatigue, poor concentration, low energy levels, change in mood, and really the withdrawal from people, suddenly not being available to do anything, suddenly not wanting to be with the family at all. And I'm talking about a functional family, not a dysfunctional one. I do think absenteeism from work is another one. People will often talk about being burnt out. I don't know that it's really, sometimes it is burnout, but sometimes it's actually just that they're overwhelmed with everything else in their life and they can't deal with what's going on at work. So it's any change in how they generally are. And if you feel that and you start to ask, you don't seem your normal self, is everything okay? And you get a short answer, or they defend against it and flick something back to you, then you'll probably find that there is something troubling them. In that instance, I always think it's just helpful to say to them, I'm here if you need to talk. I'm very happy to have a chat with you. I'm very happy to I'm very happy to listen. I'm very happy to support you in whatever way you need. Because oftentimes, if they're not okay, it's because they're not getting support in some other area of their life, and you may be the only one that's picked it. Because people that are not okay generally don't let you know. They're not going to lead with, I'm not okay. They're going to lead with, everything's fine. That wonderful word again. I've been trying to forget about the sudden loss of my parents since 2016. Any advice? I think loss, this is just my experience, and I'm not saying we're all the same, we're not. The sudden loss is difficult, as I said earlier. I don't know that we ever forget them. And I'm presuming that you may have had a good relationship with your parents and that you miss them. And I think that's absolutely appropriate. I always am of the big belief with loss that we do something that's symbolic around them. People, often will talk to me about, the loss of a child, for example, or a loss of a parent. And maybe Mum liked magnolia trees. Plant a magnolia tree. Do something symbolic to honour her life. I had a difficult relationship with all of my parents. I only had two of them. My parents. And when I was... my daughter was doing her first day of the last year of primary school. And I picked her up from school and I said, how was your day? Good, great. Yes, great. And I had not a great childhood. And at various times was estranged from my family. It was all peaceful by the time they died, but at this point it wasn't great. And she got in the car. I said, "How was your day?" "Yeah, great. It was great, Mum, great. I've got to do a project," she said to me. I said, "Oh, good. What's the project?" She said, "It's going to take all year." I went, "Great. What's the project?" She said, "We have to do a biography of the family." She was very excited about it. I was internally moaning, thinking, this is going to be full of lies, which it was. And so I had to drag out all of the little pictures, the little photos. For those of you that are old enough to remember, photographs with a little white border on them. And I dragged out all these photos and scanned them, and we told stories about each member of my family. And there wasn't that many of them because they'd all died before I was born. But the interesting thing was that after we'd done all this, I looked at these photos and I was about to throw them back in the suitcase they'd been in the back of the storage. And I thought perhaps it's time to honour these people that were probably the reason I ended up the way I am today. Whether I want to admit that or not, I think that's the truth of it. Anyway, so I got these photos and got them blown up, and they sit on the wall in my home. Now, you may have photos of your parents in your home. You may have done symbolic things to honour them. But what I know about loss is that it's nearly like your heart gets stretched because of the loss and you grow bigger around it. It's not like you suddenly just get over it and that's the end of that. These people are significant for good, bad or indifferent, functional or dysfunctional. They are people that made us who we are today, whether we like it or not. So those photos sit on my wall at home, and I'm fine with all of it now. There's no charge in it. And there was a lot of healing in me allowing those photos to be on my wall. So I'm not sure that actually answers the question, but it's just a little bit of a share about my experience with family. What can I do or say to someone that is showing all the signs? How should I handle this? If you notice the signs, I believe being authentic in your question, direct and compassionate is the answer. Asking them openly, curiously and regularly, how are you? Some of the questions that I went through before, I noticed you seem a little down. Are you okay? I notice you seem a little down. Is everything all right? Yeah, I notice you seem a little down. Would you like to talk about it? You don't seem yourself. I would always ask the question. And if you get pushback, quite significant pushback, you'll know that everything's not okay with them. And then perhaps it's time to bring in another friend, bring in a family member, do a compassionate sit-down chat, maybe have some ideas about therapists that are nearby that could see them, psychiatrists that can see them, GP that can see them, programs that they could attend, for example, like South Pacific. We just need to not step back from having the difficult conversation. Because if we do, we don't actually support ourselves and we don't support them. If we don't support ourselves, we don't actually allow them to be supported. Very often, as I said, people that are in those situations where all the signs are there are very alone in it. And you reaching out will probably be one of the beginning steps of them getting help. What do I do if my friend has major depression but only trusts her kinesiologist? I can see it's not working. That's a difficult one, isn't it? Because if she only trusts her kinesiologist, you don't want to do anything to disempower her in her choices about the kinesiologist. If it's not working for her, I can only suggest that I would probably suggest that perhaps there's other alternatives as well as the kinesiologist. That kinesiologist, like all of us, none of us got all the answers for everybody. I mean, I habitually refer clients on to other therapists or other, practitioners to get some assistance for a while and then come back to me. I mean, it's never ever helpful to think that you can be all things to all people. And perhaps that's the route I'd take if I was going to be talking to her. Not that the kinesiologist isn't fabulous and is of great value, but that if we're talking about depression, perhaps we're talking about having to look at some childhood trauma, having to look at adult trauma, and that is best done by somebody who's skilled with trauma-led recovery. And that would be a different sort of professional. I'm supporting 4 parents, all with dementia. I'm at overload. What can I do while I'm waiting a few weeks to see a counsellor? Wow, 4 parents, all with dementia. I'm not surprised you're on overload. I'd be on overload. What can you do while I'm waiting a few weeks to see a counsellor? I'm trying to think if there's a way that you could see someone more quickly. I'd be trying to see someone else unless you've got a connection with that counsellor. I'd be reaching out to see someone. There are some therapists that have openings that could see you within days. I don't think that a few weeks is helpful. And I do think supporting 4 parents all with dementia is an enormous ask for anybody. And I can only hope that you've got some siblings that are supporting you. I also think that we fall into the category now of what self-care are you able to do for yourself? What can you do? I mean, if you're that hectic with four parents, it's like, wow. The self-care has to be enormous. And I would be pulling in some friends, not to necessarily help you with the care with your parents, but to help care for you. To actually say, I'm really struggling and could I have dinner with you? Could you cook me dinner once a week? Could you, there are practical things people will do for you if they know that you need help. When I was in the grief I talked about earlier, I could barely deal with the life that I had. I was managing, but it was very hard. And what I knew was that the women in my life that loved me, of which there were more than I realised, I have to say, would cook food and bring it out, and they all lived in the eastern suburbs, and I was out in the northern beaches at Avalon, and they would drive out, leave the food on the doorstep, and then text me and say there's food on the doorstep. They didn't bother me, they didn't come in, but people will help you in whatever way you need. You need only ask. And I actually think as a result of COVID and the pandemic, we've learnt that, haven't we? We supported each other through those times as best we could in our lockdowns and with the difficulties we were in the middle of. So please don't think that people won't support you. There's no more questions left now, so we might finish up. And if you have been in any way distressed, or you're actually in a position now where you want to ask for help, I would suggest you call Lifeline tonight. If any aspect of this has been difficult, on 131114, that's 131114. And of course you can always reach out to South Pacific Private if you need support with your mental health, addictions, PTSD, anxiety, depression, mood disorder. And we are always there to help you. So thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope it's been a little bit helpful. I hope you take something away. Check out, are you okay with your friends and your family? Please don't make it a once a year thing. Just do it every day. Check in with each other. Thank you very much.